I'm Colin Goudie, the editor of Monsters, and you're watching Bubble TV. Basically, it's set in the near future, and NASA have sent a space probe out within the solar system to try and discover life on another planet. And they've discovered that. The probe returns to Earth with a sample, and the probe breaks up in orbit, crashes in Mexico, and infects Mexico. So what happens then is, over the years that follow, these alien life forms start to develop in the Mexican jungles and start moving their way, spreading out and infecting the whole of Mexico, heading up towards America.
What is that?
And so in the movie, we're kind of 5 years after that event, and the American and Mexican military are trying to contain the creatures. That's the kind of the sci-fi world that Monsters exists in, but really it's a film about relationships and about human beings, and it's a very personal story, really. In terms of the cast and the crew size, it was minimal. The cast was effectively two people. Sam and Cold are the actors, played by Scoot McNairy and Whitney Able. The film is a romance, and so there was a lot of chemistry on set. They already knew one another before we started filming, and that was one of the things that Gareth Edwards, the director, wanted. He wanted actors who already knew one another before filming started, because the screenplay was actually just a script breakdown and the actors had to improvise all their dialogue. So Gareth wanted a couple who knew one another and could start bouncing off one another performance-wise. What that means, because they're improvising the whole thing, a scene in the finished movie which lasts 1 minute, they would talk non-stop for an hour. And I would go through an hour's material, and it would all be shot on, quite often on one shot, with Gareth filming it like the way a documentary is filmed. So he would walk around the actors and get different angles, and so it wasn't like a static shot for an hour. He'd get lots of coverage, and then I would have to pick out the parts of the scene that I felt told the story the best, edit that together, making it look like one seamless, properly multi-camera covered sequence, whereas in fact it was all improv.
Calder, come on, please. Stop taking pictures.
What do you want me to do?
Are you looking at what
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Hay una cosa en la...
What is that? What is it?
Why is it turning? Más rápido, por favor, señor.
And everybody else in the film were real people. They were real Mexicans, and we would ask them if they wanted to be in a movie, and they would just perform for us. And what was interesting is the director, Gareth Edwards, his ethos is that if you tell people how to act, they act badly, if they're a non-professional actor, that is. But if you put them into a situation that they have life experience of, then non-actors can give a really superb performance. So everybody else in the movie are real people, and Scoot and Whitney are the only two actors. So that's a cast of two. And then the crew was the same thing. Previously, Gareth and I had worked on a big budget thing for the BBC called Attila the Hun. So, cast crew about 100 on that. And the experience that we had there was, it was such an unwieldy way of filming, that Gareth wanted to minimise the crew on Monsters. So he decided to shoot it himself, and he is not a cameraman by trade, so he had to learn how to use the camera, and he had to learn about composition and lighting. And we took a sound recorder, so with this Ian, and there was myself editing and Justin, my assistant, and we just had some laptops and some hard drives. That was our entire cast and crew, so we could fit into one minibus. I think what's interesting about Monsters is, although it's got something like 260 effect shots in it, There's only probably 50 shots maybe in the movie that you will perceive as being effect shots, and those are the ones of the monster itself. The other shots, you won't realise it's CGI. What it is, it's elements that we've put, or Gareth has put into the world. So, for instance, there are maps on walls. There are murals painted up on the walls in Mexico. If you travel through Central America, you see all these sorts of political posters that have been painted up. If you're in somewhere like Cuba, obviously there are people like Fidel Castro. So here, Gareth would do it whereby people have painted monsters fighting against the Americans and the Mexican military up on the walls. Now, if you look at it, if you look at those images, you think that an art department have gone and they've actually got a painting and they've painted it up and put it on the wall. It's all CGI. In fact, what we did was, because there was no art department, Gareth in post did all the things that an art department would normally do. And I think it is the way that CGI in movies in the future is going to go. Not on such big, spectacular stuff that is blatantly CGI, but creating a world, a realistic world, but without having to build it all to start with. The 3 reasons why I think students at St Andrews should go to the cinema to see Monsters now is, 1, it is a very good film. And by that, what I mean is my friends who have been to see it, who are not in the film industry, they've really loved the story. They love the characters. They fall in love with the characters. So go and see it because it's a good movie, first and foremost. Secondly, because I actually believe it is a groundbreaking movie. If people look back on it historically, I think Monsters is the movie that will prove to people that low-budget filmmakers can make exciting, accessible movies for a mainstream audience. And the third reason I would give is that Monsters really deserves to be seen on a big screen. When you watch it in a cinema and you get that experience with your fellow cinema goers, and sort of, you know, you're huddling yourself in the scary moments and you're laughing en masse at the funny moments, I think that's a shared experience, so you should definitely go to cinema to see it.
Thank you very much, Colin.
You're very welcome.